Recording. Hare Krishna. So we dedicate our session to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And today we are on the last session, the series of 9-session course. And our topic is the ultimate perfection. Okay, so I'll start by sharing the agenda. What's Lord Krishna's opinion about this world? How to adjust various imbalances between material and spiritual life? And should devotion be a part of our life, or it has to be something separate from our day-to-day life? And let's also revisit what are our basic understanding on our needs, right? And as always, we will end the session by sharing some practical tips for the day. Okay, so let's start with the first section, which is Lord Krishna's opinion about this world. Okay, and when I say about this world, so it includes the whole universe per se, right? Um, so here Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita's 8th chapter 15th verse, Mam upete punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Now, here Krishna is talking about devotees, who after performing devotional service in this life, in this world, they return to Golok Vrindavan. And Krishna says, once they return to Golok Vrindavan, they will never come again back to this temporary world, which is full of miseries. So what Krishna says here about this world is, first thing, it is temporary. Second, it is full of miseries. Dukhalayam ashashwatam. Dukhalayam means it is full of miseries. And ashashwat means it is temporary. Something which is shashwat is eternal, right? But here Krishna is saying ashashwat, right? Now, let's see, like, what does we call school in Sanskrit, right? It's known as Vidyalaya, right? And this is a bar. Okay, we call it Madiralaya. The library is known as Pustakalaya. Similarly, we have other things named as Shochalaya, Nyayalaya, Vishwavidyalaya, and all, right? And what is Krishna denoting this world, this earth as? Krishna is saying that this is Dukhalaya. Dukhalaya means it is full of miseries, right? Now, when you go to a hospital, what would you see there? You will see that there are so many patients, and each and every patient is there in the hospital because he or she has some disease, right? And that's the reason why they are in hospital, right? And we see the reason they are in hospital, maybe because they have some infection, disease, some medical problem, and everyone there is suffering, right? They are in misery, right? And Krishna says the same thing about this world. He says that this is Dukhale. That means it is full of suffering. It is almost, he's comparing that to a hospital, right? Or a jail, right? We are sent to a jail for reformation. We are sent to a hospital to get treated, right? So just because we had some problem, right? Because we had committed some sinful activities in the past, because we are suffering, we have come here for reformation, for our treatment, right? So that should be understood. Like some people say, why there are so many problems? Why there are so many challenges? Why can't it be just a smooth ride for us? Now, excuse me, like if you go to a hospital or if you go in a jail, what would you see there? Yeah, just because the very nature of that place, the very reason why those places were created is to help reform people, to help treat people, right? And that is the very nature why this material world has been created. It has been created to reform people, and which is why we see that this place is full of miseries. And Krishna again reinforces the same thing in this shloka. Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajrashya tatha anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasva mam. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. So, Krishna basically is highlighting the same thing. Anityam asukham. Anityam means ashashvatam, temporary. Asukham means asukham is it is again miserable, right? There is no happiness, right? So here you should understand, right? Krishna consistently maintains his opinion of this world being miserable, right? But there are so many avenues of enjoyment, right? Now, all those avenues of enjoyment are anitya, they're temporary, right? You may have a car or a mobile phone, right? Now, the very nature of that sukha, that happiness is temporary, right? Everything has a beginning and an end. Now, anything which has an end cannot give you constant happiness. Anything which changes cannot give you constant happiness, right? Which is why Krishna, in both the verses, highlighted the word temporary, right? By highlighting anityam or ashashvatam, something which is not eternal, right? Is going to give us some some or the other way some misery, right? Why? It is because the very nature of our existence, when I say our existence, that is soul, is that we are eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Eternal means the soul was never born and will never die. And because the soul, the very nature of the soul is that it never dies, which is why we are always hankering for something whereby we would not die. There are many people who have tried that, right? And I hope all of you would know what Michael Jackson tried by keeping, all those doctors along with him, and then what happened to him, right? Now, why people try all the means so that they should not die? It's because that's the very nature of our soul. Why do people hanker after knowledge, right? Why do we, try to seek, try to gain knowledge? Because that is inherent nature of the soul, that is it is full of knowledge, right? And also we hanker for happiness because again the very nature of soul is it is full of bliss, right? Which is why, because we are, we are eternal, we are full of knowledge and we are full of bliss, we will never be happy with all these temporary arrangements, right? Now when Krishna highlights this thing, that there is no pure happiness in this world, does that mean that Krishna is being pessimistic? Are we really not having fun in this world? Right? Why it should be branded as miserable place? Why should this place be branded as, right? Just full of miseries. So let's have an interesting comparison. Okay. Now there is a prisoner in a jail, and then here we are entrapped in this world. Okay. So we are wearing in the jail, every prisoner is supposed to wear a uniform, okay? And then they are behind bars, right? They have to work hard, right? And um, jailer not only keeps an eye on them, but there's some punishment also, right? And let's see, how does it relate to all of us? Hmm? So what is our uniform? What is the uniform of the soul which is entrapped in this world? The uniform of all of us is the body. This body is our uniform, right? Which is made up of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, as gross, and subtle is mind, intelligence, and ego, right? So there are two coverings on the soul. Okay, one is gross, which we can see with our eyes, made up of 5 elements, and other is subtle, right, which is made up of 3 elements. So total of together of 8 elements make this covering of the soul. Then what is binding us in this world? What are the things which keeps us bound in this world? The way a prisoner is uh, behind the bars. Those things are our anarthas: lust, anger, greed, attachment. All these things are binding us in this world, right? And the way a prisoner is made to work hard in the prison, we are also working hard just for the survival, just for the survival. You know, it is a uphill task, right? And who is our jailer? And what kind of punishment is that jailer giving us? The jailer is Durga Devi, right? Who's taking care of this Durg, right? And the miseries are the 3 kinds of kleshas, which Durga Devi gives to every living entity, right? And the way a jailer, takes care that the prisoner goes through sufficient reformation, that is basically the difficult task given to Durga Devi. She is responsible to make sure that we go through that reformation through the yoga process, right? And what are these 3 miseries which Durga Devi gives to all of us? The 3 kind of kleshas, right? These are adhyatmika, misery caused by our own body and mind, like all the anxieties and depression. We talked a lot about that how some of our major ailments, right, diseases like hypertension, diabetes, main cause of them is the stress we go through, right? The anxiety, right, we have. Then the second kind of misery is adi bhautika, which are caused by other living entities. And all of us know, right, what other our so-called, uh, for example, our neighbors, some of the difficult governments, right, the taxes which they give, and even the viruses and the bacterias, right, with corona, very fresh to all of us. And then the third type of misery is caused uh, by natural things, right, by demigods. That is, they are known as Adi Devika, which are caused by higher authorities like demigods, and in form of droughts, floods, earthquake, famine, right? So these are the 3 kinds of miseries which are given to the prisoners of this world, right? And no one is free from these. And yeah, so what is the reality of this world? Right, we have to, we see, a lot of advertisement around us for happiness and of happiness. Everyone is trying in their own innovative way to be happy, right? um, some even get some temporary happiness, right? But as we talked about, the very nature that these are temporary, they they will at the end give us some kind of problem, right? We There's always a need to get things updated, right? Because they are not going to last for long, and then finally they will become redundant. As we see with different versions of phone or anything, let it be anything, let it be even medicines, right? We see that new and new medicines keep coming, which is why, some of us are in research, right? And even otherwise, like in our own lives, we see that if we get promoted, we feel so happy about the promotion we got. But after some time, you know, it it becomes a burden, right? We again try to contemplate, when will I get the next promotion, right? The rich person wants to become richer, the richest, and the richest person will keep thinking, how can I be more, how can I have more money than the second richest person, right? So this goes on and on and on. So what is the logic of happiness? The logic is, you know, it is either in anticipation of achieving something, or just comparing our status to our colleagues, our neighbors, our relatives, right? And what is this anticipation of achieving something? What is it basically? Hmm? It is when we think, if I just get this thing, I will become happy. For example, you know when we were in schools, we used to study hard, we used to work hard. If I just get into, a very good institute, right? Whether it is engineering or a medical, we'll be so happy. And when we just enter into the college, we are welcomed by so-called ragging, so much of uh, load of books, right? The study we have to do, rigorous study, and we just try to encourage ourselves that just complete this course and then you will be happy, right? And we do become, right? But then we again start, am I really happy? Only if I can get married will I be happy. And all of us know, right? How happy we are. And when we get married, we think, okay, let me get the job and I will be happy, right? And let me tell you, this is practical to all of our lives, that we keep thinking that I can be happy if I just get this, in anticipation of something, right? And we work so hard for it. But once we get it, we realize, you know, I think so. I was thinking a lot about it. It didn't actually give me so much of happiness, right? Which is what happens. We have many friends, colleagues, relatives, right? Who share their miseries, who share their challenges and anxieties. And there is again another cause. The cause which we have discussed in one of our previous session is comparison, right? We think that if I get something more in comparison to what others have, my neighbors, relatives, right? I am not going to repeat this again because we have already discussed about this, right? That how comparison causes us a lot of anxiety, right? So that is the nature of this world, right? That is the nature of this ashashwa jagat, this temporary world. This is full of miseries, right? So is there any substitute? If we are talking about something which is temporary, right, which is full of miseries, is there any place which is shashwat, which is eternal, which is full of bliss? And yes, there is that place. And Krishna talks about that in Bhagavad Gita. And in great detail, there are descriptions about it in Srimad Bhagavatam and our other Vedic literatures, right? And Krishna says, this is just a glimpse of what that world is. Na tad bhasate suryo, na shashankur na pavaka, yad gatva na nivartante, tad dhama paramam mama. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated, by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So the way we need either sun, moon, or some kind of electric supply uh, to get light in Golok Vrindavan, there is no need of these things because the very nature of this world is darkness, which is why we need sun or moonlight or some sort of artificial arrangements. But the very nature of Golok Vrindavan is that it is by nature illuminated. It does not need any sort of arrangement in a form of sun, moon, electricity, or fire to be illuminated. And it is it's the life there is permanent. No one when one goes there would ever come back again, right? So this gives us a glimpse of what that world is all about, right? Now, in this current situation, how we should handle and adjust to this imbalance we are facing, right? How can we overcome the challenges, the miseries, right? Is there any solution to these problems, right? And Krishna says, Devi Yasha Gunmai Mammaya Duruttaya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Maya Etam Taranti Te. This divine energy of mine, which divine energy of Krishna? Which is Durga Devi, right? We talked about her, that Durga Devi is controlling this world, right? She is the in charge of this prison house, the form of material world. And Krishna says, Devi Yashagunamahi, this divine energy of mine, consisting of three modes of material nature, hmm, is difficult to overcome. Mam Maya Duruttaya, very difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me, Mam evye prapadyante. Prapadyante means surrender. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Maya etam tarantite. They can easily pass through this ocean of which is very dangerous, which is full of miseries. The material miseries of the living entity can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. So if we surrender onto Krishna through the devotional service, then Krishna says, I will help you from these three kleshas, three miseries which are caused by Durga Devi, right? And again, Krishna reiterates that fact. Sarvadharman parityajye mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishayami masucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Krishna repeats this actually again and again. When we will go deep into study of Bhagavad Gita, you know, we will share with you that how systematically and repeatedly Krishna is highlighting this point, that if you just surrender unto me, you will not have any loss, right? And do not fear. Neha brikamanasho asti pratvayo na vidyate swalpam apayasya dharmasya trayate meheto bhayat, right? Trayate meheto bhayat again, right? And here also he's saying the same thing, right? Don't just serve dharman, just surrender onto me, right? Surrender. Now here he demands exclusivity, right? Don't try to hold on to any other religious processes. What he's highlighting here is hold on to the process of devotion, bhakti yoga, right? And which is basically the essence of Bhagavad Gita, right? Mam ekam sharanam braja. If you see, Krishna is highlighting mam ekam, surrender only to me, right? Aham tvam sarva papibhyo. I will free you from all sinful reactions. Mokshishyami masucha. don't doubt about it and do not fear, right? So Krishna basically is demanding surrender. And we see the surrender which was reciprocated by his pure devotees, right? Now, through his devotees, he highlights that what does he mean by Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Now, if you see how he basically manifested that through Draupadi, right? When Draupadi was being disrobed in the court of Hastinapur by the Shwasan, you know, Draupadi tried to take help from every person who was assembled there, from her husbands, from Dronacharya, Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, every one of them. But no one would dare to, or no one could, right? Then finally, what she did was she hold on to her sari with her own hands with full strength. Now, how can her strength be compared to strength of the Shwasan, right? And then what she did, she still hold on to the sari with one hand, and with one hand up in the air, she prayed for Krishna. Hey Krishna, please save me. And then also Krishna didn't come. And then finally, what did she do was she left the sari and raised her both hands up in the air. And he says, Hey Krishna, Hey Madhav, Hey Keshav, Hey Damodar, please protect me, please save me. And that is why, if you would have seen in temples, we raise our both the hands up in the sky, right? High up in the sky and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What are we doing? What are we doing when we are chanting the names of Krishna? We are praying Krishna for his help, to help us. That Krishna, you are the only shelter for us. We are surrendering on to you. Please help us. Please help us to cross over this miserable ocean of nations and help us to be engaged in your service, right? And when Draupadi did that, Krishna came, right? And that was also manifested by Prahlad Maharaj. How deep devotion he had, right? For Lord Narayan, for Krishna, right? His father was very demonic, Hiranyakashipu. He was very powerful. The blink of his eyes, the demigods will run away here and there. But his own son, 5-year-old son, would not be afraid, right? He would face everything because he would always remember Krishna. He would always remember Narayan. Om Namo Narayan. Om Namo Narayan. He would chant, right? Now, if we want to follow this lifestyle, how should we follow? How can devotion be part of our life? How can we live with it? Right? Do we have to really renounce this life and become a yogi or a sannyasi like them? Or can devotion be part of our ongoing current life? Right? Now, Arjuna asked the same question. See, Arjuna basically is representing all of us. And he's asking all these questions on behalf of all of us because Arjuna knew that we will have the same, confusions. So Arjuna hereby asks in the 5th chapter, first shloka, Arjuna vacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha samshashi yashreya iteyorekam tanme broi shuneshitam. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? So Arjuna got confused. What Krishna actually wants me to do, right? Because Krishna didn't want him to run away from the battlefield, to run away from his or her. Krishna never wants. that we should run away from our responsibilities. Sometimes people falsely think that Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, all the Vedas, you know, uh, they say, they talk about renunciation. No, no, no. Krishna is reciting Bhagavad Gita not to reinforce renunciation, but to reinforce devotion, right? And that is what Krishna highlights as an answer to Arjuna's question. Shri Bhagavan Ovacha Sanshaya Karma Yogascha Nihashreyasya Kara Ubhau Tasyo tu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. The personality of God had replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work, right? So Krishna is hereby saying that I prefer that you work in devotion for me. What does that mean? That means we have to somehow dovetail our life to bring Krishna in the center of our lives, the way Pandavas did. They ruled the entire earth. We just have to take care of our family, right? Or maybe our parents, right? And some other dependents. And here, Pandavas, they had to take care of the entire earth. And they could do so by keeping Krishna in the center. So why can't we work by keeping Krishna in the center? And that is the message of Bhagavad Gita, which we will try to understand when we go through Bhagavad Gita in great detail. But here are few examples from our real life. This is Harikesh Mafatlal, owner of Mafatlal group of companies. And the other picture is of Alfred Ford, right? Now, Alfred Ford is great grandson of Henry Ford, the owner of Ford company. And you see, Alfred Ford has been initiated in the Vedic culture, right? He has got initiated, and his name is now Amrish Das, right? And he has married an Indian woman, and he is living a pious religious life, following our Vedic culture, right? So when people like Pandavas, when people like successful industrialists can live a life full of devotion, then why can't we live, right? So we can also live. Only thing is we will have to understand how to do that, right? And let's see what are our basic things, right? What are my needs? And because it is just going to be a recap of what we have already heard through these sessions. So, you will basically understand it. We shared with you that Martin Luther King Jr. said, how should how it is so important to control the mind and the senses. He said, our scientific power has overrun our spiritual power. We have guided missiles, but misguided men. So, what he is highlighting is the importance of regulation of senses. And when we talk about regulation, what is most essential thing for regulation or meditation? Doing the same thing, same time, every day. And that is way you can control your mind, because the very nature of mind is it is fickle. It's always keeps jumping from one option to other option. It is very turbulent, right? Arjuna highlighted that chanchalahi mana Krishna Balavadi. So Krishna says, I acknowledge that it is chanchal, but you can control the mind by suitable practice and renunciation. And what that suitable practice is? Suitable practice is practice of chanting the names of Hari, hearing about Krishna through Bhagavad Gita, reading Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. That is suitable practice. And renunciation is renunciation from the four sinful pillars, which are meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit relations. So we should try to renounce all these sinful activities, right? And hang on to the spiritual practices, right? So we should, by spiritual practice, what we will do, we will strengthen our intelligence. And when our intelligence will be strengthened, we will be able to control our mind, which in turn will control the senses, which are like horses of a chariot, right? So if we have to control our senses, we have to have transcendental intelligence, right? And only then will the person who is sitting in the chariot, the soul, will be peaceful. And again, we have this here. We have shared this with you. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya nachayuktasya bhavana nacha bhavyat shantir ashantasya kutha sukham. Right? The chanting, reading, and hearing about Krishna gives you transcendental intelligence. And when you have transcendental intelligence, that gives you a steady mind. The steady mind, in turn, will give you peace, right? Na cha bhavayate shantir. Ashantasya kutha sukham. If you are not peaceful, how can you be happy? So when you are in peace, you will be happy, right? So that is the formula of controlling the mind. But we also saw that even if we are intelligent, we always need an external help, right? External help in a form of a guide, a guru, right? Because we know we are like these six blind men. We saw this example, right? How they perceived different parts of elephant to be like a wall, fan, spear, snake, tree, or a rope, right? Because they were blind. And similarly, we are also blinded. Through these eyes, we cannot see absolute truth, right? Which is why it is important that we approach a guru, right? We approach a spiritual personality. And the same is highlighted in Padma Puran. Sampradaya vihina ye mantraste nishfala mata atha kalau bhavishyanti chatvarha sampradayena Shri Brahma Rudra Sanaka Vaishnavashiti Pavana Chatvarasते कलौ भव्या हे उत्कले पुरुषोत्तमात् रामानुजं श्री श्री चक्रे मध्वाचार्यं चतुर्मुखा श्री विष्णु स्वामिनं रुद्रो निम्बे आदित्यं चतुष्षना. Here it is highlighted the importance of approaching the spiritual personality only from the recognized institutes. See, the way, as I explained you in past, there are, recognized schools, colleges, medical college, engineering college, they are all affiliated and recognized by the government, right? Uh, so there may be a CBSE school, ICSE, Cambridge, and a state board. Similarly, when there is so much of arrangement or affiliation, accreditation, recognition for material institution, would not be there recognition for spiritual organizations? And there is. Here it is highlighted that unless one is initiated by a bona fide spiritual master in the disciplic succession, the mantra he might have received is without any effect. So if you are chanting something, if you are practicing something from someone who is not from one of the four authorized Vaishnav Sampradayas, then all your mantras are nishfala. They are not effective. For this reason, four Vaishnav disciplic successions inaugurated by Lakshmi Devi, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and four Kumaras will appear in the holy place of Jagannath Puri and purify the entire earth during the age of Kali. Lakshmi Devi chose Ramanujacharya to represent her disciplic succession. In the same way, Lord Brahma chose Madhvacharya, Lord Shiva chose Vishnu Swami, and the four Kumaras chose Nimbarka. And here is this, right? So these are the four Vaishnav Sampradayas which are authorized, right? They were started by Lord Brahma, Lakshmi, Shiva, and four Kumaras, right? And then these are the representative acharyas. And as we have shared in the past, that International Society for Krishna, is in the line of disciplic section of Lord Brahma, Madhvacharya, and Chetan Mahaprabhu. It is known as Brahma Madhav Gaudiya Sampradaya. And we have Srila Prabhupada as the founder of ISKCON, right? And we have seen that how, from very childhood, he was spiritual. He has been, his parents were, great devotees. He met his Guru Maharaj, and then, how he translated Bhagavatam, how he took the instruction of his spiritual master seriously, and he started preaching in English all around the world, right? And how with full dedication and devotion he translated so many books, and he commented on so many Vedic literatures, right? It is said that he is the true ambassador of India's Vedic culture, right? And then what did he preach about? What did he do? He preached about Krishna, right? The supremacy of Krishna, which again is highlighted in the scriptures. Ete chansha kalapamsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mrayanti Yuge Yuge. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, third chapter. And if you notice, this is verse number 28, right? Now, before this 28, there are 27 other verses which are describing different incarnations of, Vishnu incarnations, what we call in contemporary language. And it is said in the 28th verse that all of the above mentioned incarnation are either plenary portion or portion of the plenary portion of the Lord. But the Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance. Yada yada hi dharmasya glane bhavati bharata abhyudanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijameham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma sanstapana arthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Right? Whenever there is a disturbance created by atheists, the Lord incarnates to protect the theist. So again, here it is highlighted the supremacy that the fountainhead of all incarnation is Krishna. And how in the last session we saw how this Krishna is so merciful, how this Krishna is a servitor of his devotees, right? How is Krishna is actually in control of his devotees, right? And how this Krishna is always there with his devotees when they need him the most, right? So Krishna basically is not a credit taking Lord. He's a credit giving. He lives for his devotees. The way we saw with example of Draupadi, right? The way you might have heard the Sudama story, how he became a chariot driver for Arjuna, how he lifted Govardhan Hill for Brajvasis, how he killed so many demons which came to Vrindavan, right? How he killed so many demonic kings, right? So he's always serving his devotees. He's always there with his devotees, right? And the important aspect is that the unconditional love does not mean that whatever we do is loved, but it means that whatever we do, we are loved, because Krishna is our seed giving father. He's our real well wisher. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvalok maheshwaram suhriday sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachati. Suhriday sarvabhutanam. I am the well wishing friend of all the living entities. Although I am Bhoktaram yagatapsam sarvalok maheshwaram, I am the owner of everything, but at the same time, I am well-wisher of all living entities. And the person who knows, Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati, he lives in peace, right? So what Krishna is saying, what is expectation of Krishna? Expectation of Krishna is Yad karosi, yad asnasi, yad juhosi, dadati yas, yad tapaswasi kaunteya, tat kurushva mad arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So, Why is he asking us, expecting so many things from us? Why can't he just leave us free, right? Why is that so? This may be a question, right? Now, when you are in a hospital, do you follow instruction of doctors there and medical staff like sisters? Hmm? Or you want to be independent and eat anything you want to eat, right? And you don't want to take any injections, don't want to take any tablets, no medication, don't want to go for any investigation. Or you follow the instructions of doctors, you follow what the nursing staff wants you to, you follow all the, you know, assistants there who wants you to go through some investigations, right? You follow a certain diet, which is what Krishna is saying. You, if you follow my instructions, you will be happy. Yat karosi yad asnasi yad juhosi dadasi yas yas avasisi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, do as an offering to me, and that way you will be happy. Now, how to practically do is described in detail in Bhagavad Gita, right? Which we are going to study. So, this is, we have to really understand that how can we fulfill this demand of Krishna, right? Because there are needs of us to maintain our body and the family, right? We have needs for the satisfaction of mind, right? Handling pressure and stress, maintaining healthy relationships in the society, and then there are needs of the soul. So there are so many needs, right? Basically, there is a need to understand the very nature of ourselves. For example, as a bike may require regular maintenance, right? We too have to maintain all aspects of our life in a very balanced way. Only work or only meditation is not going to help us. We need a healthy balance. And how should we fulfill that, right? We have to earn our livelihood, right? Work according to one nature. Because if we work according to our nature, that will give us satisfaction, satisfaction to the mind, right? Earning a livelihood will help us to maintain the body and the family. This livelihood, the earning should be through ethical means, right? And then what more? How should we handle the pressure and the stress? If we do regular chanting, mantra, the one which controls our fickle mind, that will help us to relieve pressure and stress, right? And how should we maintain healthy relations with others? That is, if we are always grounded, we want to serve other person. That is our only aim in our life. I want to serve my wife or husband. I want to take care of my children, my parents, my neighbors, the society, the community, the nation, the universe, whoever there is. My aim is to help them and stay very humble and well grounded, right? And what is the need of the soul? It is the devotion to God, right? Now, there are so many things for us to balance. And Krishna says that you have to do everything keeping me in the center, right? So how should we do that, right? So if you have to do that, you have to try to follow what we have discussed. Superficially, we discussed in these 9 sessions, right? About all these things, that what we should do in order to have good intelligence, control the mind, how can we control our anger, right? How can we sharpen our intelligence? How to live a very well regulated lifestyle, very balanced lifestyle, right? So it is very important for you to understand those things which are highlighted in Bhagavad Gita, right? But you can again ask, like, what is the next thing? How are you going to help us to lead this life? So we have come up, is what we are highlighting, a very systematic study of Bhagavad Gita, right? Now, this study is not going to be the way we have conducted these 9 sessions. but it will be like we will all uh, come together on a platform like this, or even, if corona restrictions goes, we can, people who are in Bangalore, we can meet at Kirti Gardenia, right? And it can be, and where it will be, even if it is online, it will be very personal and interactive session, right? It will not be as formal as we have been conducting these sessions, and we will go really deep, verse by verse, you know and it is mind boggling, I can tell you. Like, I myself am a corporate person, I'm a doctor, but I tell you, um, when I didn't go deep, I myself was so afraid of really going even near to Bhagavad Gita, because it is not easy to understand Bhagavad Gita. But when we try to understand Bhagavad Gita with some help, and when we really go deep, and there will be many stories, we will come, it will be the same pattern. We will use the slide decks, we'll recite stories and related examples and all those things, right? Which will be very, so it is basically, you learn the practical application of Bhagavad Gita, right? At the same time, we will focus on individual spiritual growth of all of you, right? So it will be a very, we will take care of, like, it is, as I said, it will be like a small family. And as I told you, we are already running a session, and we are already on the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It has been almost 5 months, right? So we basically spend a month to cover one chapter. In a month there will be 4 sessions, on the weekends. So we really focus on your spiritual individual growth, right? And as I told you, it will be a discussion and not like a class, which will help you to better understand Vedic scriptures. So in parallel, I'm also running a Hindi course, in parallel to this course. So my only request is that Hindi session is basically running little behind. So my last Hindi session will be on 4th of April. So if we can start our English Bhagavad Gita study circle from the week of 5th of April, so that, I will run two different sessions, one for Hindi group and one for the English group, but it will be like same topic. I don't have to juggle my mind into two different topics, which is why I thought, like, if we can little delay the start of our English Bhagavad Gita study circle, right? Uh, I just want to understand, like, I have spoken to some of you. We are thinking of starting this on Saturdays instead of Sundays. I think so. Some of you who are really, interested to study Bhagavad Gita deeply, um, I got some feedback that Saturday will be more convenient, and Saturday evening, like around about 4 p.m. So I want to understand, will that be fine? Like, have spoken with Prashad, I have spoken with Ishwara, and my wife has also spoken to, some of the others. So uh, I just want to check if Prash-
It's fine with me, Sumit.
okay, thanks, Ishwara.
And thanks, Doctor. I am also okay for Saturday, 4 o'clock.
Okay, great. And I'm not sure, like, Garima, will you be interested? Is it Garima Didi from Gwalior, or it is Anshun Bhai who is okay? Can you please unmute yourself, Harshita? What will be your preference?
Yeah, Sumit, I'm fine with Saturday 4 p.m.
Okay, okay. Then we will take it forward, right? So we'll end with the practical tip of the day. So the practical tip is basically very practical, that we will have to continue that satsanga, our this gathering, because we will always need someone's help, right, in order to be successful in our own spiritual life, right? So it is not a one way. Like, you people really help me a lot, by when I prepare for these classes, right? When I discuss things with you, when I talk, it reminds me. more than it reminds you, right? So that's very helpful for me also, right? And we always talked about that, what is the easiest way of worshipping Krishna, for specifically for this Kali Yuga, right? By this verse, Krate yadhyayato Vishnum Tretayam yajato makhe dwapare paricharyayam kalo tadhari kirtanat. That whatever result was obtained in Satyuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing fire sacrifices, and in Dwapar Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra has been specifically highlighted in Kali Santarana Upanishad by Brahmaji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti sodaskam nam nam kali kalmashanashnam, nata parantarupaya sarvvedeshu drishyate. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. These 16 names, composed of 32 syllables, are the only means to counteract the evil effects of Kali Yuga. In all the Vedas, it is seen that to cross the ocean of nescience, there is no alternative to the chanting of the holy names. So we should all chant regularly the Hare Krishna mantra, right? And we can precede our chanting by chanting the Panchatattva mantra, which is this: Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda, right? And then we continue on chanting. You can all, if you don't have beads, we can arrange for your beads, but you can start chanting on beads, right? Uh, so request all of you to please take your spiritual life very seriously, sincerely, right? Which will help you to be happy on this world, in this world, and also to go back home to Golok Vrindavan. Okay. So just want to check if you have any questions or any comments, any suggestions.
I would really like to thank you for conducting these courses and a lot of learnings. It's very useful. First time hearing a Bhagavad Gita class online. I'm really thankful to you.
Thanks, Prashadji, for attending regularly. You have been very sincere and attending and listening to it. So it really helps, I know. Yeah. Great. So we look forward, to regularly studying Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. It's very helpful to taking through this journey.
Thanks, Ishwar. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. So then take care. I will form a group, right? And I will add people who are interested in that group. And then we will start our session from 10th of April, right? So please take care of yourself. Stay safe. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.